and welcome to Homestead Tessie. And you guys have been asking me for a long time, Tessie, can you do a beginner's canning video? And we're going to do that today. From the diary of my grandma, Fanny, March 27, 1942. Today, we planted sugar peas. Hi everyone, and welcome to Homestead Tessie. For so many months now, you've asked me, Tessie, can you do a very easy canning recipe for those of us who don't know how to can? Well, today, I got at the discount grocery store strawberries for $1 for a quart. I have $8 worth of strawberries here. We're going to make strawberry jelly. And that is going to be the easiest canning recipe that we're going to start out with. We're going to go step by step. Now I'm going to show you how you can learn to can. And you don't need any special equipment with this canner. So, let's get started. We're going to wash these berries and we're going to take the stems off them, and then I will get back to you when that is all finished. So, we have 4 quarts in each bowl that they are cleaned and now have to wash them. So I'm going to wash them, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to put them in the kettle. We're going to work in 2 different batches. It's best to work with jam in smaller batches instead of doing all one big one. So we're going to get over to the stove and we're going to start working on making the jelly because it's really simple, really fast, and it's a lot of fun. Alright, so we have 4 quarts of strawberries in our kettle. And I love getting the liquid Sure gel. I like the liquid. I don't like the powder as much. For me, the liquid seems to work a whole lot better. I got this for only $1 at the discount grocery store last year when it was getting towards fall. They had an abundance of it, so I got a lot of it. This is a cook method. 1 pouch does 2 quarts, and so we have 2 pouches we're going to use, which is 1 box. So we're going to go by the directions that come in the box. Under cooked jam, and it's under cooked strawberry jam, which will be, oh, yes, it is a lot of sugar. Yes, it's jelly. So, like I said, you can get some that are the no sugar, and you can get some that is the low sugar. I'm going to bring this to a slow boil, and when it's into a boil that you can't stir down, then we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our pectin in it, and then I'll bring it back to a boil for a few minutes, and then we are ready to put it in our jars. Alright, at this stage, now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to take my immerser. Now at this stage I'm going to take my immersion blender, and we're going to use that to help break up some of these strawberries better. Alright, as you see, they're all blended up, and now all we have to do is wait for it to come to a rolling boil. And when it comes to a rolling boil that you cannot stir down, then we can go ahead and we can put our pectin in. And then we bring it back up to a boil, and then we're ready to put it in our jars. Now this is jam. The difference between jam and jelly is, jam is where you actually are using the seeds and you're using all of the fruit. Jelly is actually the juice that is strained from that. I don't like making jelly. I like making jam. I like the little pieces of the strawberry in my jam. So I've never really made jelly. So I'm going to get back to you when this is at a rolling boil. When it gets to a rolling boil, we will put our pectin in it. Now this is a double batch, and I'm going to have to do this all over again to make the other half of it. Alright, so we're at a rolling boil. To that we're going to add a little bit of butter. Butter will keep it from foaming. So I have a little bit of butter here that was a sample from McDonald's that I saved. So we're going to put the butter in there, and that's going to keep it from foaming too much. We're going to go ahead and we're going to put our pectin in. So we're going to open both envelopes because we are doing this other pectin in. Right, we're going to keep stirring that, and we're going to stir it till it comes back to a rolling boil. Once again, as you see when I put the butter in, it's slowly starting to get rid of all that foam. So now we're going to stir it real good, and we're going to stir it for another 5 minutes, and then we're ready to put it in our jars. There might be a little bit of foam left, and that you can always just take a spoon and skim it off the top of your jars. So let's get this back into a boil. And then we're going to put it in our jars, and then we're going to put it in my water bath canner. Now I have an electric water bath canner. You don't need that. You can even use a kettle like this to put your jars in, as long as your jars are setting on something. I often take a hot pad or a tea towel, put it on the bottom of a kettle like this, and I set my jars on that as long as the water reaches to about 2 inches from the top of your jars. You want your jars fully submersed in the water. So this is a water bath canning recipe because this is a high acid because it's fruit. So I hope you are following these directions. Look how pretty that's looking. It looks perfect. So we're going to go ahead, let that boil. Once it boils, we're going to go ahead and we're going to fill up our jars. Our jars are already been washed and clean, and our lids are in very hot water. You want your lids in hot water because you are going to be water bathing it. Ball says that you don't no longer need to have your lids preheated if you're doing pressure canning, but for water bath you want to have your lids hot. That way it helps the seal and your lid to become softer, so it will seal better. I only use ball lids. I do not use any others. In fact, these jars came with the cheap lids. I took them off. I don't use them because they buckle, they don't work, and I don't like them. So I use those for dry ingredients. I use ball lids for everything. The Chinese made lids are not good. They're junk in my opinion. Lots of times they won't seal. Lots of times they'll crimp and they will crack. They pop up, they do all kinds of things, and I go with ball because when you're making food like this, you put a lot of time and money invested in it, and I'm not going to have any of my jars ever unseal. I can probably over 1,000 jars a year, and I might have 1 or 2 that don't seal. I don't ever have a problem of my jars not sealing, and I think that is because I use the ball lids and because I pretty much do things to the book. I don't can hardly anything that's not by the book. There are a few, very few items that I will can, but generally I go by the book. Alright, so this is at a boil. We're going to let this boil for a couple minutes, then we're going to go and fill up our jars. Alright, it's time we fill up our jars, and there is the yummy goodness. Isn't that good? So we're filling up our jars. minutes are up. This is my electric canner. It's time to get the first jelly out of the canner. This will be enough for 2 years. So, for $4 in sugar and $8 in berries and about $4 in canning lids, I'll be eating jelly for 2 years at least. This can also be used on pancakes, and of course you can use it on all kinds of stuff. Now the longer it sits, the more solid it will get. So when you first get out of the canner, it's going to be quite thin. That's because it's so hot. But when you're in your pantry and put it in your refrigerator, it will be just like store-bought in consistency. And there's nothing like homemade jam. So my friends, batch number 1 is done and they're already starting to seal. I hope you enjoyed this video on my pantry series, Homemade Strawberry Jam. Take care everyone, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Hi everyone, if you like this canning video, please check out these other videos I have listed. These are all canning videos that I'm sure you're going to enjoy. See you tomorrow. Bye!